SOP 178, what kind of relationship can you build with your listeners? Well, you're going to find out today because we interview a listener who actually did a fan cast for her favorite podcaster. We're going to talk a little Podcast Secrets 2009 and a brand new bonus feature for members of the School of Podcasting.
It's the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Here's Dave Jackson.
All right, welcome to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. On today's show, I'm going to be talking a little Podcast Secrets 2009, as I am now a faculty at Podcast Secrets, along with people like Jason Van Orden and Michael Gohagen, and you name it, anybody that's in podcasting is going to be part of that whole thing, in addition to Alex Mandossian and Paul Culligan, who are the ringleaders over there. So that should be one giant party. I'll be talking about that a little later on. We've got some feedback from the phone lines. Speaking of the phone lines, you can get your own at podcastvoicemail.com. Get your own toll-free number. Mine is 888-563-3228. So if you have any comments, would love to hear that. And or you can email me, Dave at schoolofpodcasting.com. Our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. And in addition to all that, we've got an interview with a listener. We know her as Carrie P., and I have had George Hrab on the show. He does the Geologic Podcast at geologicpodcast.com. A very entertaining science, it's a skeptic kind of show, so if you, he's an atheist, so if you're into that, obviously, here is another example of a niche market. I myself am not an atheist, but that doesn't mean I don't, George is just that funny. How funny is George? He can get a Christian to listen to his atheist show. So there you go. And we've got one of his listeners. And the reason for this is I wanted to show you about the relationship you can build with your listener. And we're going to listen to what she organized and some other things. We just know her as Carrie P. But first things first, I want to get to the phones. And I'd asked, I'm noticing this. When I ask a question, I get feedback about 2 weeks later. And that to me shows me two things. Number one, podcasting is getting more popular, and there are more, I think more people are listening to more podcasts. Because I myself, I think I'm up to 38 podcasts now, podcast episodes that are in the queue waiting for me to listen to it. So by the time I get to podcast number 38, it'll probably be about 2 weeks, depending on what my schedule is and things like that. So this is from Daniel Johnson Jr., and the question was, what makes you unsubscribe from a podcast? Here's Daniel.
Hi, Dave. This is Daniel Johnson Jr. from Cincinnati, Ohio. Just am finishing listening to your episode of the School of Podcasting about why you unsubscribe from podcasts. In fact, I'm going to pause you right now so I can catch up with you a little bit later. Big reason why I said first of all, I subscribe to several podcasts, more than I actually listen to. And I find that one of the big reasons why I unsubscribe is just because I can't keep up with the content. I may pop in and listen maybe via the website occasionally, or there's some that I mean, in terms of iTunes, my subscriptions have gone down dramatically because I can't keep up with them on my iPod. Sometimes I'll go through and I'll use another mechanism for subscribing to a particular feed and listen through, like, for example, I'm a big fan of NetVibes, and so they have a really good podcasting player, so I'll listen through there. Then most of the biggest reason right now is this: I can't keep up with the content, and I mean, if I listen to them, I'm interested in a lot of different things. The other thing is that the shows are too long for me. I find that with my time being so limited, I can't. It's hard for me to listen to a 45-minute podcast. I have to really sacrifice. Okay, it's like, well, what am I gonna? If I listen to this one episode of this podcast, I could be listening to 2 episodes of a 20-minute podcast, for example, that maybe maybe a little bit more relevant. Some of the other, and that's another thing, is maybe the host. I've kind of lost touch with the host, or if I don't have a really good relationship with them. There's some podcasts that I have had a really good relationship with folks over time, and I haven't unsubscribed to their content, but I still do check in from time to time. And so for me, again, if I don't really feel like a close affinity with the host, then I'll unsubscribe. If the shows are long, then and then I'm finding also that, especially for some music podcasts, and I do produce a mostly music podcast myself, but if I'm starting to unsubscribe from some music podcasts because I can find that if I'm listening to something, I can get it maybe some other way, like through Pandora or someplace like that. So those are some of the reasons why I've unsubscribed from some podcasts, in addition to the ones that you mentioned. They're on the School of Podcast morning announcements. So again, this is Daniel Johnson Jr. from Cincinnati, Ohio. Make it a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.
And you can find him at journeyinsidemymind.com as well as danieljohnsonjr.com. Yeah, it's interesting. Podcasting came on board, made all sorts of competition for radio, and now internet radio is coming back and making competition for podcasting. I am a big fan of Pandora.com. If you haven't played with that website, very, very interesting. Talk about time shifting and on-demand kind of music. Very interesting stuff there. And Daniel talked about, kind of losing touch with the host, things of that nature. Well, our next guest is Carrie P., and she has the phenomenal connection with the host, which in this case is George Robb. So I interviewed her because I wanted the perspective from a listener of a podcast. So let's hop over to my interview with Carrie P., fan of the Geologic Podcast. You see, what Carrie did is she actually organized what was called a fan cast. She got a bunch of fans together to actually record a podcast for the host. So where the host usually records a podcast for the fans, she flipped the tables, and, well, here's Carrie. What inspired we'll start with that. What inspired the fan cast? What made you think, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this for George when he hit the 50th episode?
Well, George and I, for better or for worse, have a very similar sense of humor. And that's something that I'd never seen in a podcast before. And I just absolutely love the podcast. It was like this comedy variety show, which is something that I've loved ever since I was a kid. And the genesis for it came, I just had this idea of, let's roast him. Let's just make fun of him and insult him. And I don't know why I came up with that. And once I had that idea in my head, I said, okay, we're going to roast him. It's going to be great. We're going to insult him. It's going to be hilarious. And then from there, I was able to get other fans' contact information and kind of go with that theme.
Right, because I know there's a lot of comments out at his podcast site. Was that where you were able to kind of network with folks, or?
Yeah, pretty much. He doesn't really have a message board or anything. It's primarily the comments on the podcast, and I'm on Twitter with a couple of people who are on there, and Ms. Information, who's kind of George's manager and overall organizational person, I had her contact information. So I said, hey, Ms. Information, would you be willing to, here's what I want to do. Would you give me some of the names of the Uber fans that you have contact with? And she did that, and I got about half a dozen to a dozen people's names.
All right. Have you ever done a fan cast for another podcast, or is this a George-only thing?
This is a George-only thing. I've never really done it before.
Obviously, and I guess that's the thing. Have you ever actually met George in person, or?
Yeah, I met him a couple times. I was at Dragon Con in Atlanta, Georgia, Labor Day weekend, a couple times that he was there. The first time I didn't actually know who he was, and that's actually where I kind of learned about his stuff. He sang a song called Cruel Spines live at another podcast, and I just thought it was the bee's knees. So after that, I started following him, and then the next Dragon Con I went to kind of had a chance to chat and meet each other, which was kind of neat.
Now, has this inspired you, for anyone that's looking to profit from a podcast, have you purchased any of his CDs or books or anything of that nature, or?
Oh, pretty much, yeah. I've got I think the whole shebang. I've got all his albums. I don't have all of them physically. Most of them are available online on CD Baby, and you can just download them. So I don't have most of them physically, although I do have Interrobang physically. And then do have the book, non-coloring book, and a couple of his. He's got some shirts from promos and stuff that he was selling. I've got most of it.
Well, there you go. So anybody that wants to start a podcast, you can have fans, and yes, they will buy your stuff. That's a beautiful thing. And what other podcasts do you listen to besides George's?
Let's see. I'm a big sci-fi fan, so I listen to Slice of Sci-Fi. I listen to a couple of podcasts that are actually NPR shows turned into podcasts, like Wait, Don't Tell Me and Splendid Table. Let's see. I listen to Evo at 11, which is Evo's old show. He used to be part of Slice of Sci-Fi, and Winging It, which is Farpoint Media stuff. Those are the main ones right now.
Right.
I listen to Coverville. I think Brian Ibbett, he's got some just great music out there that you don't always hear. It's pretty fun and accessible.
Absolutely.
And, just depends on what I'm in the mood for. I have a very boring day job, so I have a lot of time to listen to podcasts.
Beautiful. We love people like you.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I'm kind of on this kick lately, I've been trying to find out what causes people to unsubscribe. Have you unsubscribed from any podcasts? And if so, you don't have to name them. You can if you want. But if so, the biggest reason is why.
Right. Well, I'm kind of odd because I do it at work, and I only recently got an iPod. I've only recently gotten into the whole RSS feed. Normally, I would just go to the website and download directly. So I'm starting to get an RSS feed. But really, the only things I would say that cause me to unsubscribe, one, if there's a very large break between podcasts. I mean, there's some really good podcasts out there, but sometimes the people just are very intermittent. And, I can't wait so long, if it's been several months, they've pod faded, I think the word is.
Right.
And another thing would just be if the podcast is just too much talking. I mean, I think talking can be great. I like the cast where it's more than one person. Maybe you've got two hosts. Maybe they're married. Maybe they're just friends. I really like the interaction of a live show between different people.
Do you think now that you're getting into RSS that it would be as much of a big deal if somebody goes a long time between podcasts because now you're not going to their site to see and you're like, no, there's still nothing there,
Probably not. Actually, it's going to probably be less of a huge deal because it'll still be on there. If nothing's coming down, nothing's coming down. And when it does, I'll be able to see it there. It's always kind of a balance for me. I like listening to a lot of things. Again, I have a job where I need to fill up my day with things to listen to. On the other hand, if I listen to too many things or if I'm looking at too many blogs, it's another thing that I do. It's just not enough time to get through everything. So I kind of want to keep it a balance of having enough stuff to listen to, but not having, as you said, like you've got 68 podcasts to get through. That would be not a good situation for me.
There you go. All right, and there you go. That's my interview with Carrie P. As we head towards the door, hey, April 9th, the Podcast Secrets 2009 preview call. This is where you're going to learn things like the best reasons to podcast, exactly 8 reasons why podcasting brings you, and basically it brings a critical business advantage, rapid podcasting production techniques, podcasting marketing fast tracks. I cannot read today. Podcast marketing fast tracks. Discover the roadmap. In other words, learn the 6-step podcast monetization roadmap. You're also going to learn how to uncover your audience and how to produce a profitable audience. We just heard how George is profiting from his podcast. Your podcast and your business, at least 5 things you can implement today that will integrate your podcast content into your business structure. And from listening to acting, 7 steps to get your podcast audience to take the very actions you want them to take. Now, there's a phone call, again, going on April 9th. I'll have a link to this out of the show notes, or you can just go to podcastsecrets.com. And it's normally a $99 phone call, but there's a coupon there you'll see, and you can get that for $20 just for the phone call. Now, if you go to Secrets, I'm going to type this in right now, see if this is still alive from last year. If you go to Secrets with Dave, you will see that Podcast Secrets 2009 is really set up to be oofa. Things like they have a podcast template bundle where you can actually make your own album art. There is a podcast development recordings where you can listen in on several profitable podcasts as they were developed. You can get last year's Podcast Secrets information on a Podcast Secrets media player. So you get an MP3 player and last year's content. Okay. In addition to the stuff you get for this year, you get, now here's the fun thing, because here's the thing, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? Podcast Secrets is not cheap. It's basically $997, or you can do 2 payments of $498.50. And if you're thinking, man, That's too rich for my blood. Here's the fun thing. They have an accountability partner now this year, which means you can bring one accountability partner with you. So don't take this exciting journey alone. It says bring one accountability partner, somebody to help, because if you think about it, you're going to learn so much information. It's nice to bring somebody with you to say, hey, you work on this, I'm going to work on that. And you want to bring someone with you who's going to challenge you to make the most of this class. So not just soak up the information, but to do something with it. So now, if you think about it, since you're really two people, you might be able to talk your friend in, hey, let's split this 2 payments of $498 into 2 payments of $250. So that's going on. The faculty training program. I am now part of the faculty at Podcast Secrets, along with, like I said, some friends of mine, Jason Van Orden. I know Michael Gohagen. There are actually more than that, and I will be meeting most of them tomorrow on a phone call, so I'll be talking about that a little later on in next week's podcast. There's a bonus training pack that talks about social media. Here's another one that I was like, are you kidding me? I can't believe he's giving this away. Paul Culligan has a thing called the New Media Inner Circle, which basically everything Paul does, he sends down this pipe, and you're going to have access to this exclusive private membership site during the time of Podcast Secrets. You're also going to get the Business Podcasting Bible in PDF format for free. And here's the other fun thing. When you join up for Podcast Secrets, you end up you pay your tuition this one time, and you automatically get private phone and web access to Podcast Secret trainings for the rest of your life. As long as you remain in alumnus in good standing, you also get 50% alumni discounts on all of Alex's others virtual teleseminar training series courses. So you get access to Podcast Secrets, and then you get big discounts on other things. Now, in addition, they're going to have their private vendor and consultant list, a private resources list, which is great fun. I'll be soaking up that information. And I'll give you an example of what I'm looking forward to. I know Paul and Alex do Marketing Online Live, and they now have dynamic ad insertion, which was a thing that Gigavox used to have, which was then bought by Podango. And if you're like me, you wish you could sit around in your basement all day and find the coolest tools on the internet, but basically that's what Paul and Alex do. And once a year they come out from the bunker and let us know what they found, and that's really Podcast Secrets. So again, if you just go to secretswithdave.com, you will have not only Paul and Alex, but you'll have I'll be actually teaching a small portion of that, as well as, like I said, I know Jason and Michael are involved. I think I'll let you know next week who are the other faculty, but to me, I like the fact they have this structured now. It's not just one payment. You can do the 2-payment plan, and you can bring an accountability partner, and that may also then cut down on the price. So also wanted to point out something as I like to keep these under 20 minutes, and we're right up against the clock here. You'll notice if you're a regular listener that you're going, Dave, you sound really stuffed up. And the case for that is I am. But you notice I didn't start off my podcast. This is something I'm starting to notice, that it's really not the greatest first impression. More and more podcasts I'm hearing, if they've missed an episode or things like that, they start off your first impression apologizing to the audience. I don't think that's a great way to start off the show. If you're a regular listener, you probably noticed right up front, either Dave's doing massive amounts of coke or he's got a cold. And in this case, it is the second one. I have a stuffy nose, and this is what happens when you deprive yourself of sleep. And then here in Ohio, the temperature's all over the place. It goes from 40 degrees to 70 on a regular basis. One last point as we head towards the door. That is, I've had people ask me, Dave, you haven't mentioned anything about PodCamp Ohio. It's June 20th. It's right around the corner. Actually, it's about 80 days. I will tell you, he said, looking at his phone, it's about 80 days from now. Now, why do I know that June 20th is 80 days away? Because I'm a little busy that day, as I will be getting married to my lovely fiance of 2 years. So I will not be attending PodCamp. I will be recording it and probably playing parts of it on a podcast. But because, well, I am Mr. School of Podcasting. But no, I wish everybody at PodCamp Ohio wish I was there, but I will not be attending PodCamp Ohio. I kind of got plans that day. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. proving that you don't have to have a great voice today. And remember to drink lots of water. Remember to get lots of sleep. Excuse me. And okay, if you're ready to start a podcast, please. Oh, man, I forgot a really great point. We've added a new bonus feature to the School of Podcasting. Check this out. You'll want to go out to schoolofpodcasting.com. You're going to see this thing pop up on the bottom. It's called a footer ad. And that is through a software script called the Ultimate Footer Ad. And I'll have links to that if you want to buy it. It's a $47 value. And for becoming a member of the School of Podcasting, you now get that script for free. It's another bonus of signing up for the School of Podcasting. Very, very cool. Of many, many bonuses that are now available, adding more value to the School of Podcasting. It's what I like to do. So check it out. If you're ready to start your podcast, go over to start.schoolofpodcasting.com and start podcasting today. And until next week, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. I want to remind you to live a life worth podcasting about. Until next week, class is dismissed.